Hey, welcome back to mine and Kunikar's YouTube channel of all things Thailand. Today I'll be reacting to the problem with Muay Boran. Yesterday I done a very quick video of Muay Boran versus Muay Thai, the differences. And what I picked up with it was there was less rules for Muay Boran, being an ancient form of kickboxing, and the obvious one is that they don't really have padded gloves, they just use wraps. But it was a very quick video, so I saw this title and it just intrigued me. If you have any thoughts about it, if you can educate me about Muay Boran versus Muay Thai, and yeah, if there's any professional fighters maybe I should check out, let me know. Comment below what you think about this video as well, because you might not agree with it. But hey, let's see what it's all about anyway.
Muay Boran, the ancient Thai boxing, is often seen as a mysterious art capable of facing any opponent. Unfortunately, this conception is totally wrong. The world of Muay Boran is full of preconceptions, false notions and backwardness. I will try to explain myself with a comparison. Muay Boran is like a sword forged with the best possible materials, but which has now lost its edge. Instead of restoring it to make it deadly again for combat, it is simply decorated with gold and jewels to make it shiny and beautiful to hang on a wall. This is a general speech. It does not necessarily happen everywhere, but in 6 years spent in the world of Muay Boran and more than 20 masters studied, I have never found someone who perfectly respected my basic levels of standards, which are teaching of practical and non-unrealistic techniques, frequent sparring where everything you study is applied, pressure testing, efficient training methods, respect the premises that are given. Few masters really prepare their students to make them capable of fighting. Many limit themselves to teach the stance, the footwork, an infinite series of defensive and offensive techniques, and are ready to churn out the classic Muay Boran practitioner with his beautiful certificate. In all this training there is no sparring and pressure testing, maybe just some Muay Thai sparring. There is no understanding, only learning. The masters who, on the other hand, are
So they don't spar, they just learn in a classroom? Is that what you say?
willing to truly prepare capable fighters, unfortunately fail in their intent because they have remained static over time. Some of what they teach is now out of date and can no longer be applied successfully in their advanced combat of our times. Plus, their training methods are ineffective and only waste time. These masters are
Were they just punching leaves? This is
too
random.
attached to tradition and fail to improve their art, to keep it as it has been taught to them, hiding behind a wall of immeasurable ego by thinking that since their art is pure, it is superior to other mixed or refined styles. Ironically, Muay Boran styles have been mixed with Japanese martial arts for a century. Just think about the military Muay Retreat, Muay Chai Sawat, or the Chayut and Tayut styles. Even the Chaya line of Ket Srigapai is not pure, since he had multiple masters, which influenced his way of fighting, and he was also a Silat master. There was a reason for this evolution, because true masters looked for effectiveness, and knew that not changing what does not work is the true death of the art. Muay Boran is not in the name, the stance, in the names of the techniques. It is in its principles, especially in a world where the effectiveness of martial arts came back as the #1 priority and people are exposing arts that do not do what they preach. And before anyone says it, Muay Boran was not battle test. It was not used in warfare when soldiers lost their weapon. Fighting with your bare hands against a simple knife is already madness that will probably cause you to die or get very hurt. Imagine against swords and spears. You don't have the slightest chance to survive.
Well, yeah, it kind of makes sense there.
Muay originally supported the armed fighting, and only later it took an identity of its own. Soldiers were indeed trained to fight with their bare hands, but most of the training was based on weapons. And even if it had been battle tested, the combat of that time was primordial and cannot compare with the modern one. Born from more than a century of continuous clashes between the best fighters from all over the world with all sorts of backgrounds. Muay Boran is not
It's crazy you can use your head in Muay Boran.
perfect and is to be refined, both now and in the future. Some of its flaws are 1. Wrong training methods. One of the most used drills consists of what I call theatrical performance. Two practitioners perform a previously agreed technique, supported by a time freezing of the opponent. In this way, space-time relationships are altered. A large amount of space is covered in a very short time without the opponent reacting and without any real threat to identify. This trains an altered timing and gives a false sense of confidence. They often end up training ineffective techniques that seem functional thanks to this training system. Too dangerous to be used. There is no sparring, no cross-sparring, no feinting. Truly lethal techniques are only 20-30% of Muay Boran. There are no excuses to avoid sparring, which is like swimming on land. 3. Sparring Muay Thai and not Muay Boran. Muay Boran should be trained with open gloves and with the Muay Boran rule set, not with a Muay Thai rule set and closed gloves. 4. Too many forms. Forms does not create fighting awareness of what and when. The fighter is not able to apply a technique at the right time. Is full of notions without the qualities needed to apply them. No setup, no finding range, no fight IQ, no timing, no feints. In some occasions, time is wasted in training techniques that the practitioners do not like or do not use, only because they are part of the form. There is no development of your personal style, merely rehearsing a routine. 5. Maniacs of technique. In some cases, the technique is deemed to be so important that it is trained excessively. So much that you have to be precise to the millimeter. Don't get me wrong, technique is very, very important, but not so.
But if you spar Muay Thai and you learn the technique of Muay Boran, surely if you had to execute Muay Boran move and you've learnt the technique and you've sparred Muay Thai, what? I'm trying to think how much different it would be apart from learning what it would be like to feel to get hit and stay on your feet, but I don't.
Important
It's
to neglect
controversial, isn't it?
qualities like timing and fighting.
Is it almost like he's trying to say, the person, the narrator is trying to say that Muay Boran is like what you see like the American wrestling, where it's just performances now instead of actual combat sport?
Awareness to reach an unnecessary technical level. If someone has good timing, he can win even with a not perfect to the millimeter technique. Too much homogenization. Training becomes a mass production. Everything is too much based on the textbook. There is no exploring of a personal style and no changes. I saw tall people cutting off their range and using the stance and the tactics of small people just because they had to look identical to everyone else. Outdated.
But then, if it's an ancient sport. It's like, are you not just learning? Is there not something you get out of learning what people in the past had for rules?
Strength and conditioning. The masters should let professional strength and conditioning coaches do their work according to science. Static in time. There is an unwill to change. There is learning but not understanding or self-reflecting. This also comes from the false notion that Muay Boran is battle test and it is perfect. So at the end of the day, Muay Boran becomes a product to sell that does not live up to what it promises. I myself felt that in first person. That's why I left my Muay Boran Academy. You first think it's you, then you talk to your gym mates and they have the same problems. So you think it's the master's fault, and then you discover that almost every master's is like that. So
That's interesting then, because I thought that he was just slating Muay Boran, not being nice about it. But considering then he's been at a gym and was training for it and didn't feel he was getting the most from his gym or what he had in his mind, maybe it wasn't pushing him as hard as he thought it would be. Yeah, twist there to how I'm feeling now. It's like,
not you, it's not the master, it's almost the whole Muay Boran world. Does this mean that Muay Boran is useless? No. It is one of the most complete martial arts that can be learned, with the use of the 9 natural weapons of the body, every type of throws, and wrestling from the feet to the head without limitations. If properly refined and trained, it can make you A formidable fighter, able to adapt and always find the right solution in combat, able to surprise the opponent with unpredictable and lethal actions. One example is Samar Payakarum, defined by many as the best Muay Thai fighter, who happened to be trained by Master Yotong, one of the last remaining capable Muay Boran masters. Have you ever wondered why in these times where MMA, Muay Thai and lightweight matches are very popular, there is not a way to have legally recognized Muay Boran matches? Have you ever wondered why Muay Boran masters praise the effectiveness of it so much, but currently there are no champions in any martial discipline with a Muay Boran background? Because nobody cares about changing the formula if you believe everything they tell you and give them money. It's time to open your eyes, embrace the change and enter a new era for Muay Boran and martial arts. And before closing, if someone feels personally attacked by this video, I want to specify that it was not made to say that I'm better than him or he's better than them. It was made to make everyone reflect and be honest with themselves and the others. To realize that there is a lot of room for improvement if someone is honest with their limits. For you and me as well, and that martial arts ultimately means to be better than yesterday.
The start of that video went really fast for me and I was like, oh no, I'm not sure it's sticking in my mind. And then halfway through, I was like, okay, so he's trying to say how this ancient combat sport is only being taught, like paperwork, and you're only getting sparring of Muay Thai. And then I was understanding that he was saying that it was mainly you would just go and see a performance of Muay Boran instead of an actual combat sport. Am I correct there? Educate me, it's all new to me, help me on the comments. So with that being like more than just performance, I was like, is he not respecting like the past, the history of the sport, and how even just learning the techniques, even though they're not correct for modern day combat sports, they're still pretty cool to learn. But then I was understanding what he was saying by in actual combat, if you were to fight with just your hands versus someone with a sword, well, you know, it's just, yeah. I understood what he meant there, where it wouldn't have been used in combat. But in general, really interesting. Another side I didn't think I'd come out of this, learning about Muay Boran after just starting to learn about professional Muay Thai fighters to react to. So hope you enjoyed this video. It's probably pretty controversial, what a lot of the stuff he said in this, but hey, let's keep an open mind and keep the comments nice, and we'll go from there. Ciao.